the September Highland NAC. We are doing this via Zoom. This video will be posted on YouTube and Facebook. So we have a agenda that's posted and a few things we want to add that are will be in the public comment section. Just to get started, the NAC is a neighborhood committee, which is kind of your a volunteer level of city government, facilitated with city government staff to help the neighborhood. And I am Adam Gretzinger, the chair. And let's have the other board members introduce themselves, and then we'll go to the special districts and then the city staff. So Konnettee, could you?
Yes, I'm Konnettee Ethridge. I've been living here for almost 20 years, grew up and went around this area and went to Beaverton High School. I'm the recorder.
Reggie?
Hi everyone, I'm Reggie Frumkin, and I've lived in this neighborhood my whole life, essentially. I went to Fir Grove, Highland, Beaverton, and U of O, and I'm the vice chair, and previously I was the recorder, and I've been involved with the NAC since 2015.
Okay, I did get a note from Annie that she will be 30 minutes late. I also got a note from our treasurer that he is not able to attend, and I have his treasurer's report. So with that, let's go to Liana with THPRD.
Hi everyone, my name is Liana with Tualatin Hills Park Recreation District. This is my first meeting with you all, so I really appreciate being able to be here. Very sadly, as you might know, we've experienced many layoffs and some big shifts in staffing. So I'm stepping in as your new THPRD representative for your NAC, and it's really good to be with you all.
Okay. And our city folks.
I'm Miles Glowacki with the Neighborhood Program.
I'm Lacey Beatty, one of your city councilors.
Okay. And I see we have Ryan now. Ryan, could you introduce yourself?
Hi, it's Ryan Sager, board member.
Okay. We have a special guest in Councilor Beatty. Councilor Beatty, do you have 10 minutes to stay with us, or should we put you now so that you can we can have the dialogue that we're going to have with you?
Is it possible to do it now? I have to get on the Bicycle Advisory Commission too and give an update there, so I just want to be respectful.
Well, let's have you go now early in the agenda, and welcome and thank you for making the time. Last month we had Councilor Arnold, and maybe next month we'll have the mayor. But go ahead, 10 minutes.
Sure. I'm not sure exactly what you guys are wanting from me tonight. Is it to talk about policing?
That would work.
Okay. Or are you just looking for a general update?
So we had asked about the 8 Can't Wait. This is mainly Annie that was asking and wanting other members of the city council. If you want to give a COVID update, if you want to give policing update, or anything else that is that we should know about,
sure.
Why don't you go ahead and do that?
Sure. Well, let's just start with we're living in unprecedented times, and the fires that are raging in Clackamas County and all around us. Definitely, I hope you guys spend some time tonight preparing your own personal families in the event that you need to evacuate. My husband is an active duty military officer that is preparing people to go right now. And so we spend a lot of time in our family talking about preparedness, because if he leaves, we need to be prepared here so he doesn't have to worry about us when he's gone. And there's a lot of National Guard families and fire families in our community that are experiencing this very same thing. We have 2 neighbors that work for TVFNR, and they both got activated at midnight 2 nights ago and called me and said, can you come get my kids? We don't know what to do. And so having those kind of plans, because sometimes it doesn't feel like things will happen here, but it could happen here. And so 8 Can't Wait is something I introduced 13 weeks ago, almost 14 weeks ago, probably this upcoming week, to City Council as a baseline consideration for minimal police reform. It wasn't adopted by the City Council. Instead, they wanted to have continuing conversations about that topic. For me, as a combat veteran and somebody that's experienced danger and fear both in my professional career, I think it's really important to have these conversations about levels of force when we do it. Fear alone can't be the reason we do things. The military spends a considerable amount of time training so that in moments of fear and high anxiety that you have the cognitive ability to adapt. I think that same focus should be in our police department, and the idea that they need to have an endless amount of tools to do their job is untrue. I know what it takes to shoot out of a moving vehicle and hit a target. It is very challenging. We should be thinking about those kind of things. I live in central Beaverton where the streets are narrow and the kids pre-COVID are often out in the street, and I would feel very uncomfortable with a police officer shooting out of a moving vehicle in my neighborhood. So I think we need to have a really hard conversation about that. When that wasn't passed by City Council, I asked us to adopt an 8-week series, a talking series, to look at school resource officers and to look at mental health, like the Cahoots program, to look at training, to look at recruiting, because we often talk about police reform for police officers in the system, but we don't often talk about what does it look like to recruit a more diverse workforce from the start. So understanding what are our standards now, what are we looking for, what are in there, what does our police department look like now, those kind of things. That also was not adopted. And my third go around was, can we get a consultant on board to help us start to have these conversations, which we did. And she's presenting to council on Tuesday night. So I would definitely suggest tuning in to hear what the consultant had to say. I know I talked to her today about her report. I'm not shocked. A lot of it in there from BIPOC community members is they feel unheard. They feel like they've told their story multiple times to City Council and other elected officials. You already have this information in a 200-page report called by the Coalitions of Communities of Color, Analyzing Race in Our Community, and it's time for action. Of course, it was a lot more in detail. That is my interpretation of the notes that I read. So I would tune in on Tuesday night to hear that report for yourself. And I think the really big question is, what next? Nothing in that report surprised me. Nothing that community members said surprised me in that report. And now City Council has a pivot point of what now? We've had a presentation on school resource officers that was one directed from police school resource officers to us. It didn't include members of the community or members that were impacted by it. The city spends over $1 million a year supporting school resource officers. So I know there's a lot of my colleagues that feel like we don't have a decision-making voice in that, but we do. $1 million a year worth of decision-making. And we need to have a conversation about what is the right, and maybe it is keeping school resource officers in the school, but maybe it's they're not armed. Maybe they're not wearing a uniform. Maybe they don't drive a patrol car on campus. So it's not all or nothing, but we do need to come to some agreement that the way things are operating right now don't work for everyone in our community. As a white woman, my interaction with the police department has been nothing but stellar and great. And I've been pulled over and I've had really, had really great interactions. But we need to look at policing and community safety through a lens of not just what makes me feel comfortable or my family's interaction with policing. So I think I don't know. I don't know where we are. So we're going to hear this report and council will have to make some decisions, because I don't think anything in that report is something we've not already heard. And so for me, I think we will hear it and we will have meaningful conversation. But what I do know is that we have a really talented police department. We have really great members there that want to participate in these conversations too. I don't think we can have any conversations without police officers at the table as well. And I think two things can be true at the same time. We can support police officers and understand their life is really hard. And particularly right now, every first responder in our community is responding to fires and COVID and working conditions that no one signed up to do. And so I think we owe it to everyone to have hard conversations. And so that's coming up on Tuesday. And to give an update of maybe what you guys know or don't know, we're in the process of hiring a second judge. So the second judge is, we had just gone through this process. We were hoping to hire two. We hired one really great judge, Miranda Summer. She was sworn in on Tuesday night. And we couldn't come to a conclusion on judge number 2 out of the hiring bunch. So we went back out. And so we had, I think, over 16 applicants that made it through, you know, the qualification round of what they were qualified. Council whittled it down to 6. And so we'll be starting that interview process in 2 weeks. And we will have, usually on there is a member from the police union. It will be members from the judicial defense attorneys, prosecutors. We'll have members from the business community, someone from HRAC, someone from the Diversity Advisory Board, and a couple other people. So I'll have 3 panels. They have about 6 to 7. Because I think sometimes we tend, when we're talking about community safety, we only focus on police, when we also should be focusing on the criminal justice system and some of the other things that go along with it. So most people don't even realize that the city council hires judges in Beaverton. They're not elected, they're appointed by us. So I think that to me is really important for us to look at. And so those are kind of like the big things happening. I mean, COVID, fires, you know, racial unjust, a lot of things happening right now.
Would you like to take a few questions from the
Sure,
board members?
Yeah, I'll take as many as you'd like.
I'll start with one, and maybe it's just a suggestion on the police input, is to get input from people who have been arrested and detained by the police. And obviously they may have more input. So that wasn't really a question, but if we have another board member who would like to ask a question, or an attendee that would like to type something in the chat or a Q&A box, I will read those for the councilor. See, Reggie's unmuted, so go ahead, Reggie.
Hi, thank you so much, Councilor Beatty, for being here tonight with us and taking the time out of your schedule. My question is, actually, is the Mayor's Youth Advisory Board meeting this year or currently?
I think so. I'm not a liaison to that board, and Miles probably would know, but I would assume they're doing some kind of virtual meeting.
So my question is, how can the City of Beaverton City Council and Mayor involve the Mayor's Youth Advisory Board in the conversation about reforms to policing? I think they are a major resource, and they have a lot of valuable links to diverse communities across the Beaverton area, especially with insight on school resource officers and how they interact with people of color in the Beaverton School District. How can that board be more involved in this conversation?
I agree, and yes, and I think it's really important to remember that volunteerism is privilege, and it often means that you're a little bit more stable and you have the time and the resources. So I do think engaging the Mayor's Youth Advisory Board is a really important step, but I feel like we can't false sample every young person with a represented group like that. But I think it really is going to come down to, is council willing to listen? We had a 10-minute audio clip paid for us when we talked about school resource officers from students that didn't want their name attached to it for fear of reprisal. And we almost didn't play it because we typically require you to have your name and address on record. But imagine telling a student that felt unsafe with a police officer coming forward at 16 and being on public record and speaking that kind of truth. So we've heard 10 minutes of testimony from young people that have felt not safe, unheard. And so I think for me, it's like we continue to ask people to come forward and we continue to ask people to tell us things, but what is the council going to do with it? And we are asking people to live trauma over and over again and share their experience. And are we willing to listen? And not just listen and pat ourselves on the back for listening. I mean, if the outcome of all of this is not some sort of change, then why are we going through it?
Those are some good points. Thank you.
Any other
I mean,
questions?
come on, guys, we got
from-
judges, fires, COVID.
I can ask another question. How do you see urban tree canopy playing a role in Beaverton's future as far as adapting to the effects of climate disruption?
Well, one, we need a tree, like a policy about cutting down trees. Like the very first time, I've continued to ask this for a historic tree registry. I live in central Beaverton near Beaverton High School, where we have a lot of old growth trees, and we have trees, the trees in my yard, I know they're 55 years old because my neighbor told me she planted them in a coffee can, luckily on the property that she didn't own. So we have really expensive trees to maintain. But they do keep us cool, and they keep off, they keep it warm in the winter. And so for me, like, we needed an aggressive policy about tree removal to start, because once we start cutting our old growth, there's nothing left. And we can't just ask developers not to cut down trees. We have to have some kind of consequence for cutting down trees, and something like, for us, it's contact sensitive design. Can you move a sidewalk 10 inches to not cut down the tree, even though your sidewalk might not look straight? Can the building maybe turn a different direction to accommodate 40 old growth trees? And so while we say we're Tree City USA, I get emails weekly from City Council in my inbox about people cutting down trees on their own property and developers. And so, in our climate action plan, we didn't even address trees really even in it. And to me, like, that's something I continued to ask us. Our climate action plan was had no teeth in it, and it had no serious repercussions for not addressing climate change. And it puts so much ownership on individuals rather than business. The average age community member in Beaverton is 36. We know to recycle our cans. We know to put our trash out on the sidewalk. We don't need to tell young people to put shit in a trash can. What we need to do is hold everyone accountable.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Our time is about up, and maybe you could close with a little bit of COVID information, and then we can move on with our agenda.
Cool. And I'm putting my email address in the chat box, so feel free to email me if you have any questions. Sometimes questions are challenging for people to ask in a setting like this. So, one of the things with COVID that I feel that we kind of really missed the boat on was talking about working families and the pressure. So my daycare decided not to open till spring. My husband and I both work. I'm a city councilor, and we're not talking and doing a lot about working families. I mean, think about how many families in our community: firefighters, police, military, hospital workers, essential personnel in grocery stores, were not able to just stay at home, and now they have this extra burden of responsibility of educating their young people and their children in their house. So for me, we need to take some of the $2.77 million of CARES Act funding we had and direct it towards childcare and working families. It's really important we do that. We focused a lot on restaurants, and as somebody that lives in Central Beaverton that has fought really hard to bring restaurants into Restaurant Row, that's not the only thing that exists here. And so we really need to think about that. We also know that a lot about how COVID is spreading is changing. We're really knowing that being in enclosed spaces is far more dangerous than being outside. And so what are we going to do with some of the businesses that have adapted to COVID by having outside spaces or opening their garage doors? What happens when it starts becoming cold? How are we going to address those kind of issues? We're not even talking about that. And so those, to me, are front, center, and mind for me. We know City Hall is going to be closed at least until mid-November. Honestly, I can't see it opening at least till January. We have to know that we're a service agency that's externally focused. And so how do we make sure community members can still access government? I forgot my badge and couldn't get into City Hall yesterday when I showed up for a meeting. And if it's not accessible to me as a city councilor, how is government accessible to everyday people? And so we have to start thinking about those things.
Okay, thank you for joining us today, Counselor, and we hope you can make it over to the bicycle advisory meeting.
Yeah, thank you.
And let's move on to parks. So Liana, I'm going to have you unmute yourself and give the district update.
Thank you so much. So yeah, I've got some updates for you. Just to give you a little bit of background about myself for future reference, I work in engagement and partnerships at THPRD, been with the district for a couple of years now, and I'm happy to answer any questions I can. Any questions I can't answer, I'm happy to take back to the team and work on and then get back to you all on afterward. In the meantime, yeah, I have lots of updates for you. First, the Conestoga Recreation and Aquatic Center, as well as the Tualatin Hills Athletic Center, both reopened on August 31st. So people can register for the weight room or sign up for classes online through our portal. Reservations can be made 1 week in advance for the use of the weight room, indoor courts and gyms, and fitness classes. The new process is necessary to ensure our compliance with the statewide regulations and requirements for physical distancing, contact tracing, and class size limits. But you can check out our website for updated hours of operation. We also have free fitness in the park that started on August 29th. THPRD is bringing back that free fitness in the park classes, so you can join us for a variety of free family-friendly opportunities there. Please bring a mask. Participants will be spaced out to allow a minimum of 6 feet. All fitness levels are welcome and no pre-registration is required. So run through the end of October. You can find that schedule on the website, and if there were any cancellations due to fire or smoke, we would also put that information there. We're also have some other good news. We're expanding out-of-school care out-of-school care options for families. THPRD has expanded its out-of-school care offerings to offer parents more options moving into the year. So THPRD's out-of-school program will provide a reliable and consistent place for children to learn as well as participate in a safe, socially enriching activities. And families can sign up for online support and enrichment activities for children in kindergarten through 5th grade. Classrooms will feature stable pods of 10 children and may grow if safety guidelines allow. There are limited spots that are available, and we're taking interest lists. So if there's an additional site that you all might be interested in, you can, we'd love to hear that feedback as well. THPRD is working closely with the Beaverton School District to expand those locations if there is a need for additional sites. That out-of-school care will be offered at Conestoga Rec Center, as well as Hills Rec Center, 5 days per week, 7:30 to 6 p.m., starting mid-September. And to sign up, just register through the district's website. A couple other good news items we have, some talking wall projects are getting ready to launch. So THPRD is ready to launch an exciting new project. We're utilizing public art to help express the district's commitment to racial justice. We are partnering with the Black Student Union from Sunset High School and Color Outside the Lines, which is an organization dedicated to supporting youth and BIPOC artists. We've got 4 new murals coming up at Sunset Sport Complex. So that's BIPOC artists have been designing those murals with students from Sunset, and will help paint the murals. We originally planned for this coming Saturday, but sadly we have to reschedule due to the smoke and fires, but we're excited to have this project coming together. Last couple items, we do have events planning underway right now. Thanks to the Psyche grant from Washington County, we are at work reimagining what community events will look like and what we can bring together in a safe manner. So staff are still working on scheduling these and hope to post those events on the events calendar very soon. So stay tuned because staff have a lot of exciting plans underway. Some events that are in the planning stages include drive-in movies, drive-through events, neighborhood concerts, pop-up youth sports, welcome, and much more. And then last bit of news for you is that the tennis center is looking to reopen on September 14th. So that's our 3rd facility, the Babette Horenstein Tennis Center, that will be reopening on Monday, September 14th. The center's hours are tentatively set for 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., and 3 to 9 p.m., Monday through Friday, as well as Sunday from 8 a.m. to noon. Online court reservations will be available through the district's registration portal for hour-and-a-half blocks of time. So that's a lot of information, but lots of things happening. So I'm happy to share this update with you all today, and hopefully we'll have more events coming up soon that I can provide for you. Are there any questions on those or any other projects that I can answer?
As far as your presence here, are you assigned to us on a permanent basis, or is it just that someone wasn't available?
No, it's a great question. I am assigned to you on a permanent basis. And,
Okay.
And I'm, because I'm new to this group, please feel free to give me any other feedback if there's anything that I can do to make these updates more helpful.
We're oftentimes able to promote the volunteering events that the district does, and we have the capability to push those on social media throughout the month. And I see Reggie would like to ask a question. So Reggie, could you unmute and ask your question?
Sure, yeah, if I may, we have a lot of folks in the neighborhood who are regular THPRD natural resources volunteers. So we're always looking to hear updates about natural area events, volunteer events happening within like half a mile of the NAC. And then we're always interested about like contractor updates to, with maintenance projects within any of our local parks, including Highland Woods, which is of course the crown jewels of our neighborhood. Thank you.
For the guests on the chat, there is a Q&A and a chat box where you can type a question. So for the folks that are attendees and guests, if you have a question for anyone, feel free to type it and I will read it for you. And let's see, do we have any other questions from the board members before?
This is Konnettee. I've got two. I don't need answers to. I just want to bring to your attention. One, the Highland Woods is very beloved, and it is also getting well used and may need some special attention once things open up again, just from the use that we've been seeing. People are playing outside of the play area and building things outside that area, and just generally more activity there. And then when we did our project at the Tualatin Park, and I'll report on that later, we found several spots of poison oak. I personally got poison oak from that spot, and I know it's a native plant, but I'm wondering if you could check if it could get removed, just because of the nature of that park. It's a walk-through park, a lot of activity, and I just think for that purpose, there's at least two that are fairly close to the trail that goes through that park. That's it.
I'm so sorry. I think my internet might have broken up right when you said the name of that park. I didn't catch it.
Oh, Tualatin.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, seeing no questions from the folks that are guests, I think we can let you go if you would like to leave us. So.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate the time.
Thank you, and welcome to representing the Park District. Next on the agenda, we have the Beaverton Police Report. I did see that Officer Matias logged in briefly, and I was hoping he would be here for one of the written community member correspondences. If he rejoins us later, we will return to that agenda item. And our next thing is Councilor Arnold joined us last month, and we got a follow-up from them, and I just wanted to go over that. I see Miles is now talking on the phone, so I'll take care of this part. So several questions were left unanswered that Kate Arnold answered for us. Okay, where is that follow-up? There it is. Okay. I may have misplaced it. Reggie, could you go next with the Wilson Park tree planting, and I will get this in after that.
Yeah. So a quick recap for those who are new to the NAC. We have a tree planting matching grant approved with the city of Beaverton. Annie and I are working on this project as the tree subcommittee for the NAC. The planting event is going to focus on planting 25 trees in planting strips along the street and in yards at homes in the Wilson Park subdivision, specifically kind of the east half of that, around Wilson Avenue, 22nd Street, 24th Street, etc. This is a volunteer event that will be very similar to the successful one that we put on last November, the same weekend. However, it's going to be scaled down by about 50%. I have listed in the chat to at least all of the panelists the COVID-19 safety plan for the event. Annie and I discussed moving forward with Miles last week, and we had a really good discussion and got a lot of information. So we have a whole document, it's about 2 pages, that we're going to send, and it's going to get reviewed by the city's emergency management team, or something like that, similar along those lines. And they're going to make sure that we're good to go as far as having an event. But some key requirements that we're going to be imposing is wearing a mask at all times, 6 feet of social distancing required between everyone outside of a particular household, capping the volunteer event at 25 people. This would be considered an outdoor civic gathering, so we believe that it's in line with what the governor's safety guidelines and mandates are allowing. So all this is going to be reviewed, a bunch of precautions that we have taken into account that will be implemented during the event as well as before and afterward. We're also going to have an RSVP, like pre-registration webpage, probably using Eventbrite, and that way we can keep people's contact information, have a list of people beforehand so we can know when to cap things, and then be able to contact with volunteers prior to and after the event, which will be really important. So we encourage everyone to come on out. This is open to all residents, of Beaverton, the whole area. We're not going to be actively recruiting school groups, I think, due to the need to keep the volunteer numbers lower. But we're really encouraging people from the neighborhood to come out and participate. We're going to ensure it's a safe event for everyone. We're meeting at the southeast corner of 20th Street and Wilson Avenue, adjacent to, but not at, Fir Grove School. So this will be in the public right-of-way, just on the wider portion of the sidewalk there. Won't be requiring any street closures, but this will be the best option. So that's November 15th, Sunday, from 1 to 4 p.m. Arrive prior to 1. There will be brown bags of water, snacks. Everyone will get a raffle ticket, tree planting instructions and guides, like their own personal copy to reference, as well as their own mask and hand sanitizer bottle to keep with them during the event and keep afterward. So we're feeling really confident about this, and we're really looking forward to making a difference in the historically under-canopied Wilson Park neighborhood. Does anybody have any questions or concerns, comments?
Reggie, I was wondering, on one of the corners of there were quite a few rentals. So do you have a way of contacting the landowners, or do you work through the rental?
That's right. Well, one of the goals that we had discussed during the planning stages was to do more for bridging gaps in equity across the neighborhood. So we realized that we had an opportunity to reach out to renters. Well, they're not all renters, but people in multifamily residential developments or lots. So duplexes along Cherry Hill Drive. We're looking at reaching out to duplexes along Daphne Street further west in the future. So we wanted to organize a mailing to all of the rental property owners. There are actually way more rental houses in the neighborhood than duplexes. So that was interesting to see, but we're hoping to empower tenants to start a conversation with the landlord to be contacted directly, which is new for this event, so that they can, have that decision if the tenants choose not to pass on the information. So out of the 153 doors that we left a tree offer for, I think about 29 of them, of the units, were rental properties, so a little under 20%.
Reggie, the promotion for the time and date of the event, have you? You can start that now on the social media, or well, Annie could start it now for you.
Miles, I'd like to hear what you think about this. That
Looks
my
like he's.
understanding was that we are kind of waiting on the emergency manager to approve our plan to carry on with the event as we described it earlier, with the precautions that we listed. Hopefully that will happen soon, but maybe we should do kind of a soft opening of outreach to various channels. We have a social media budget, of course, so that's a conversation to have. But I think for now, we're kind of waiting on submitting it to Miles, and then the city will pass it on. But residents are aware of it, and the NAC is aware of it. So yeah, I think maybe we could do a little bit more in the meantime and take that risk in the case that it might change somehow in the future.
It looks like Miles is engaged with another event. I see him talking in his video while you're talking. So maybe you could resolve that by email, and you could promote and find volunteers by soft launching the event on social media at a time of your choosing. And thank you very much for working on this. Okay, moving back to our other agenda item, we have the follow-up from Kate Arnold, and I am going to share the content of this email. And let's see, this is what Kate Arnold wrote us back, and a little bit of this is what Councilor Beatty told us. Basically,
it's still blurry. Can you enlarge it? It's still blurry. Yeah.
I think if I shrink it, it'll actually.
Whatever
shrinking.
you did worked.
I shrank it.
Okay.
So these are the agenda bills that they have been discussing up until last month. And these are the things that if you wanted to follow up and see what has been proposed at the city, that you could find. And 8 Can't Wait did not pass, but they did hire the consultant. So this, if you wanted to, if you support that, you could email the city council and tell them you want agenda bill 20,170, for example. Or you could just read what it is and see what it does. So this is the information that we received. The other thing that's interesting here is the Human Rights Advisory Commission having these different meetings, and there are 3 meetings left, including the use of force policy, which is coming up in October. And others can attend these things. They can write to the commission, and these are opportunities for input, especially if you have anything useful, or you just want to make Beaverton a better place and shape these policies. These are some opportunities for public input. We do have the consultant now that I believe there is a way to contact the consultant to give input. You can, of course, always contact the city councilors. You can lobby the city councilors a certain way if they didn't vote the way you liked on the agenda bills. So these are some opportunities for engagement that our community can do. And this email is a public record, and we can provide it to anybody who wants it. And let's see, while I'm screen sharing, I can't see everything else. So that's the follow-up from Councilor Arnold. She did take the time to put all this together for us to see. And it has been provided to the NAC board members, and will provide it to any resident living in the NAC, provided they just ask for it. Okay. Let's move on to another agenda item unless a board member has a question about the Kate Arnold feedback. Okay. The cleanup event, or no, helping get schools get the year started. I believe Konnettee asked for this to be on the agenda. Do you want to address this, Konnettee?
I don't know if I did. To have the school,
Oh, you know what? Maybe this is Annie's.
okay,
So let's hold that until Annie gets here. The cleanup event changes.
you mean the
The
weeding?
report about the cleanup event that happened.
Okay, well, it went very, very well. We had a total of 18 people participate. Pretty evenly split between the HOA and the NAC. We were able to complete all of the tasks that we had outlined. So that included removal of some dead debris, removal of all the ivy from the trees and wells around the trees, and some bitter cherry that was also removed, and as well as an 8-foot patch of ivy that was leading from the HOA into the park and was kind of the feeder source for that ivy. I did fill out the reimbursement form for the matching grant and mailed that to Miles. We had a total of 88 volunteer hours dedicated to this project, and our cost was $456. 400 of that was for the rental of the truck, and the rest was for masks and water and snap bag. We did a similar thing with COVID restrictions that Reggie was talking about, where we had a grab and go bag that had all the personal items, hand sanitizer, mask, snacks, and water. By the way, it was 100 degrees that day, so we needed a water. And let's see, we also marked out the work areas, taped them out so that it was very clear what was your area, and there wasn't confusion that maybe led to some lack of distancing. I think what we would like to do eventually as a follow-up is maybe in the spring do another event to get the ivy that is on the floor of the park. With that, I think this will be a nicely complete project. And I did find out there were some things that were good and some things we can improve on probably. One was the identification of that poison oak that I talked about earlier. That would have been something I would have liked to have done a little bit better. There was, I think that the marking the areas out went very well and let us kind of rearrange people as the work got done. And it was great to be involved with the HOA. They were just terrific. They were very hard workers and enjoyed, I think, enjoyed getting out even in the hot weather. And then if I could tag on to this, I wanted to ask the group about whether I should go ahead and move forward. We still have the one part of the series for the natural gardening event that we canceled because of the onset of the COPA restrictions. We were going to call them this fall and see if there was a way to hold that meeting. My recommendation would be that we wait until after the first of the year to schedule that part of the event, if that's okay with everyone. Any thoughts?
Is that a motion?
Yes,
Or...
I'd like to make a motion that we hold off on scheduling the last part of the natural landscaping workshop until after the first of the year.
Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Further discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Board members?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. The chair's opinion is that it's passing because everybody voted yes. Okay, so go ahead and after the new year, get something going there. Now let's move to city updates. And Miles, I see that you sent me a extended written section. Are you wanting me to read that, or would you like to talk to it?
I can do it. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I have the Denny Whitford meeting that's running into all kinds of technical issues. So I apologize. Let me just pull it up here. Okay. You heard a little bit from the Councilor Beatty, but the city is doing some community listening sessions. We've hired an outside racial equity consultant to support development of listening and dialogue sections between the community and the city focused on policing and public safety. They're going to have a series of 4 90-minute conversations for community organizations to participate. And they've started in August, and it sounds like they've completed those, and they're going to have the staff report on Tuesday. It's also Beaverton Welcoming Week. It's an annual series of events bringing together immigrants, refugees, and U.S.-born residents to raise awareness of the benefits of welcoming everyone. This year, the city is a proud partner with 8 community organizations through grants to support virtual and in-person opportunities for cultural exchange. Events include storytelling, music, and cultural celebrations, dance and cooking workshops, small business support, and so much more. beavertonoregon.gov/welcoming week. And the new city charter is moving along. They're in the process of hiring an intern city manager to help transition us to a city manager form of government. They're also working with a consultant to develop the not permanent position, but the regular position that would be filled sometime next year. The interim manager could be considered for the position. And I think they're going to do some more asking residents what else they'd like to see in a city manager. So those are the only updates I have right now. Unless you have any questions for me.
All right. Konnettee or Ryan or anybody, any board members first, and then anybody can type in a question in the chat or QA box for the city. Miles is staff,
was
so
there-
he has a deep reach into the city for us. So
Yeah.
he's the one to ask for our guest attendees.
Yes. And you have my total attention now. Sorry about that.
Miles, was there any more on having the outdoor space for downtown restaurants past October?
We received grant funding from the federal government through the county to keep it open through October 31st to add heaters and rainproof canopies and some other amenities. The Beaverton Downtown Association is also going to provide some art installations and try to spruce up the place a bit. After October 31st, I don't know if it's going to continue through the winter yet or not. I think they need more money to do that.
I can't believe that money's a problem when the city's devoting 40% or more than that even to policing. This is one of the many areas where it would greatly benefit from reallocation of city funding.
Well, the budget committee is made up of 5 residents and the 5 city councilors, and they decide the budget allocation. So I'm happy to pass those comments on to them, Reggie.
Okay, thanks, Miles.
Yeah.
Does the budget committee take written input that people like Reggie could write to them?
They do, and I think you know one of the members. His name's John Duggar.
I've heard of him.
Yeah,
Sounds familiar.
and I'm willing to bet he would carry some of that water for you.
Okay, we have no written questions from our guests on the line.
I don't know if the new THPRD person mentioned, but Lori is still with THPRD. She got assigned to a different neighborhood. So
Thank you so much for letting us know.
I know you guys have a relationship with her, so I didn't want you to think she got laid off when she hadn't.
Okay. Let's move on the agenda and keep it moving. We're kind of getting ahead of the schedule, which is good because I have 2 agenda items to fit in that came from public input. Last month, we got a volunteer to do BCCI rep. Konnettee is interested, and it's on the agenda again. Do we need to do a motion, Miles, to make her? Okay. Chair can't make motions, but anybody else can. So the chair will entertain a motion to appoint Konnettee Ethridge the BCCI rep officially. If someone would like to make a motion like that.
I make a motion to nominate Konnettee as BCCI chair.
Thank
Do-
you.
Second that.
We have a first and a second. Further discussion from board members on this?
Thank you so much for stepping up. I think you'll do great.
All right.
Thanks.
All in favor of appointing Konnettee, BCCI rep,
Oh.
please say aye.
I
Aye.
Bye.
Okay. And Ryan, how are you voting?
I voted aye.
Okay. That's unanimous, and we will get you that before the day of this time.
When is it the? I could
Fourth
figure
Monday.
it out. Pardon?
Fourth Monday of every month, or most months, I guess.
Fourth Monday.
Yep. And I'm gonna have Lanny reach out to you to get you up to speed.
Okay.
You bet.
And in the future, Konnettee, if you could roll down the interesting bits into our agenda. When I went to that, I learned some things that were pretty interesting to just make announcements here. So if you want to share those for agenda items or discussion, we would very much appreciate that. Very much like your other commission that you're on. We would
Okay.
appreciate hearing about your service there. Moving on to the next agenda item, the yard tree giveaway. I believe we're looking for Reggie on that. Reggie, would you like to step in?
Sure. So this was something that Annie and I discussed at our recent tree subcommittee meeting. This would be a matching grant event in January or February of 2021. This is a sort of event that other cities already put on through their urban forestry programs, such as Portland and Vancouver. And it's a really good way to get additional large form trees planted on private property. We can get a lot of smaller trees funded through the matching grant, as opposed to larger trees that are about $100 each, which we plant through our regular tree planting events. So these would be much smaller, like 2 to 4 feet tall instead of 6 to 12. Yeah, so we're proposing the date of this yard tree giveaway event on Sunday, January 31st from 12 to 2 p.m., location to be determined. And we're seeking approval for a matching grant or at least pursue a matching grant. So,
That sounds like a motion.
yeah. A couple more details that are coming to mind. This would be open to every single resident in the whole NAC, and we could look at costs of doing a mailer out to everyone, or looking at making that happen somehow. I understand that's costly, and we may have already done a mailer, so that's something that we'll continue to discuss. But we really want to do outreach to the whole neighborhood, and then probably have people pre-register or walk up in some way so that, you know, we have a reasonable amount of interest and we're not overwhelmed, but we're still getting the word out. So we're going to have to work with nurseries, and I'll reach out to perhaps representatives from City of Portland and City of Vancouver Urban Forestry to see what having that sort of event has been like for them, and, you know, the type of, like, how much it kind of costs per tree, you know, tips, which nurseries they're using for the, you know, right size trees of the right types that we want. And we're also going to utilize feedback from our neighborhood using like polls from next door. You know, which kinds of trees do people want? So we've already got some data on the potential interest of the community and what their needs are. So yeah, I'd like to make a motion, or I'd like to move to approve this NAC event for Sunday, January 31st from 12 to 2 p.m. And pursue a neighborhood matching grant to make this happen.
Do we have a second?
A second.
Discussion. I have one discussion item. Is 2 hours enough time to execute this event? The trees are not being planted at the event, or they are just being given away?
They're being given away, and there will be a planting demonstration that is happening throughout the event to show people how to do it properly, and they'll also receive tree planting resources, pamphlets or digitally.
When you ask the urban forestry folks, maybe you could ask them how likely, when you give someone a tree, how likely are they to actually plant it?
Yeah, that's a really good question.
I'm still going to vote in favor of this, but I'm just concerned people might come take a tree and it never goes in the ground.
Absolutely. So one of the tenets of this sort of event is the organizers are collecting data on, was the tree planted? Is it missing? Is it still on the porch? Is it still in its container? Is the tree dead? And this will happen probably, late spring, right after the window of tree planting essentially closes, and then maybe at the end of the summer. So other cities do record that data, and I think we will do the same. And
perhaps asking for a photo of the tree would be one way to guide its way into the ground.
That would be great, yeah.
Other discussion on this motion? Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
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 I said
Konnettee,
aye.
how do you vote?
Yeah, I said aye.
And Reggie, are you a yes? Okay. Unanimously passed. Anything else on this before we move into the board business section, Reggie?
Well,
Can
let it be known for the record that it is not on Super Bowl weekend.
It is not what?
Not on Super Bowl weekend.
Okay. I just had something people might be interested in that's kind of related to this topic. The National Arbor Foundation has a promotion going right now. Some of you may have received their information in the mail. And if by the 15th, so it's the 10th today, you make a donation, they are willing to it's a very nice promotion. They will also send you trees, but there's an option to instead opt for 10 trees to be donated for forest fire replacement. And it just seems like a timely thing right now that people might be interested in. So just go to National Arbor Day Foundation website, and I believe the promotion is on that website, as well as a mailer that may have come to your home.
That's a great idea.
Yeah,
I think we should definitely do that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Konnettee, and thank you, Reggie. Moving on, I'm going to give the treasurer's report. This is inside board business section, and we are doing really well on being ahead of time here, so we'll have time to address 2 of our written correspondences from our neighbors that are guests. The treasurer's report, we have 2 bank accounts, one at U.S. Bank, one at Oregonian's Credit Union. We transferred $3,200 between the 2 in August. We still have the old account open. It is authorized to be closed, and Jeff just needs to do that. Our balance is $3,183.61. There is a check outstanding for $400 to a landscaping company from the event that we had previously. And that is the state of our finances. We have a fairly stable balance. We did move our money to a different bank so that we would be able to update signers and access the money. That is really all. On the treasurer's report, there were some questions that Jeff had that we have since answered about what were these transactions and were they authorized, and it did turn out that they are authorized from the events. So pretty uneventful on the treasurer's report. And Konnettee, you have a copy of this. You can put this, just cut and paste into the minutes if you like.
Copy of what?
The treasurer's report, Jeff
Oh,
sent
sure,
it.
yeah, I could do that.
Jeff
And
sent
I've
it to you.
got $16.39 outstanding
Yeah.
for the weeding partner.
Okay. Moving on, we need to approve previous month's meeting minutes. Konnettee provided them. I did not see any corrections or replies to them. Do we have a motion to approve the previous month's meeting minutes from the board members here?
I'll motion to approve.
Do you have a second?
Am I allowed to second?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'll second.
Any discussion or corrections on the minutes? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Minutes are approved and they can be posted. We have a item on here about a board member resignation. We actually covered that last month, so we don't need to cover that again. And then discussion of the upcoming fall elections. Miles, can I call on you to discuss this? You're muted.
Yeah, it's just a reminder. I believe Highland has their elections in October, usually. So having that on the agenda next month, and then thinking about what positions board members would like to take on. If the officers want to continue in their positions, the chair, recorder, treasurer, vice chair, BCCI rep, or if they would like to just be a board member, or if anybody else would like to step up into a more leadership position. Just something to think about between now and October. You'll do a nomination at the meeting, and you can self-nominate. So if, and then I believe you also vote at your October meeting to approve those candidates for those positions. And you can do it as a slate. You can put together a slate and vote once on the slate instead of voting for each position, if you'd like.
Miles, how are we approaching this with the COVID restrictions and access for community members that may not have technology access to participate? What are other committees doing?
They are moving forward with their elections. Where although there is a digital divide, there also is a divide when it comes to in-person meetings with who can attend those. Childcare, jobs, all those other things that come up. So it's our stance that we move forward the best that we can. It's what state law allows, and it's a year appointment, so we can reevaluate in October. And if there's anybody new, they can join the board at any time by a vote of the board. It doesn't have to be during elections. So,
okay.
Yeah, everybody's just doing the best they can, really.
Okay. Well, thank you for that information. And we will have to promote that. I will get that out to Annie to promote that on social media right away. Let's do the board member roundtable. And I would like to start with 2 inputs from our community members. There are 2 exhibits that I sent to board members. Let's start with Bernice's, and I will unmute Bernice or invite her to unmute. Okay. Bernice, you should be able to talk. Would you like to introduce your topic?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, I would like to introduce having a shred day in connection with your fall cleanup day, just for our neighborhood association, since I believe the Beaverton police have not had one for a long time, and what I read recently was that they are going to be limiting their one coming up in October. So I thought it would be nice to have something just for our neighborhood. And I would be willing to pay for the shred truck. I tried to attempt to have my own box of shredded material taken by the Raleigh Hills Neighborhood Association, but that was several weeks ago, but their truck was full within an hour. And the gentleman I talked to said that the neighborhood association, the business association paid $800 for a truck. And I don't know whether that is what it is for, whether they got a special deal or not. I would have to look into it if it's something you guys would be interested in, but I would be willing to pay for at least one truck.
Perhaps what we could do is find out how the police did theirs, and
Okay.
I could ask maybe Miles to inquire with how that worked, to see if we could maybe support or facilitate that for you, and for the neighborhood, because people shouldn't keep stuff they don't need, like taxes over 7 years or checks from 30 years ago. That stuff is not worth keeping.
Right.
Adam, this would also be a great project for a matching grant if the NAC wanted to pursue that as well.
Oh, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah,
Bernice, a
I was
matching
wondering
grant
about
is,
that. Yeah, that would be great.
yeah, is a fund outside of our treasury where if we get enough volunteer activity, we can bring the price down to 0 for us, provided we meet the volunteering hours. And Konnettee and Reggie are masters of this. And if you would like to connect with them, I can get you their information, and they could, kind of help you through it. If
Okay.
you would be interested in leading this, or if you'd be interested in just participating, these 2 are extremely sophisticated at getting these things approved and through.
You're so
Yes,
nice.
please pass on their information.
I will do that for you.
I think it
And-
might be, if we could ever resurrect the dumpster part of the event that we had to cancel from last summer, it would be nice to have these 2 events together. But we can talk more about what works and what's a barrier at this time for that. But
Good
No,
luck
And,
with
a
this
good
event.
and Bernice, thank you for reaching out to me,
yeah,
and welcome to our meeting.
Oh, thank you.
You're always welcome to join us, to watch us, to comment on social media. And we do have elections next month if you are interested.
Okay. I did attend one meeting when you had it at Highland, so
Okay.
that was my first time in over 50 years that I've lived here.
Okay.
And what is your
Very
cross
nice.
street? Sorry.
I will get you Bernice's email, Reggie, and Konnettee, and I will connect you.
Sure. Sorry, you mentioned you lived here 50 years. I'm just curious, what is your cross street?
22nd and Cherry Hill Drive.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool. Yeah, I'm on 22nd.
you're not far from Jeff then, probably.
Yeah, I think nearby.
Okay. Moving on, we had an interesting, I'm going to mute you, Bernice.
Okay, thank you.
So You can always type in the chat box if you want to,
Okay.
and you can give more input. We had another contact, and this one is a little bit, well, let's say it's more meaty. Vicky is dealing with squatters and asked the question, you know, how to deal with them. I did reach out to Vicky over the phone and told her, you know, this is not the right forum for that. But this person lives in the neighborhood, and I was hoping that the Officer Matias would be on. But this person has squatters for more than 6 months, and she's been having civil issues with them. And you know, I did relay the message that we can't give legal advice to this person, but I did want to give them the chance to speak, and I think it is this one. I asked that phone number to unmute. So we'll see if we can get Vicky and we can give her a little bit of.
If you're calling in, it's *6 to unmute your phone.
To unmute or mute, right? Okay. I am thinking that it's not working, or they don't want to talk. But in the input that I sent to the board members, you know, you can see the text of what Vicky wrote about the concern, and a little bit of this is policy for maybe state government, and a little bit of it is just needing some information or maybe access to the dispute resolution service that Beaverton provides, which I can get to Vicky. I didn't think to mention that on the phone. Anyways, I value these community inputs, like Bernice and Vicky just sending me an email asking for things or bringing something up, and it's fair game to bring this stuff up. So with that, let's go with board member roundtable, because we're done with the community input now. So starting with maybe Konnettee, do you have anything else to bring up before we adjourn?
I just have, so the other committee I'm on is the Visioning Advisory Committee, and it's the purpose of that committee to help inform the city, the council about community wishes and interests, and we have just finished a cycle of that. So what happens is you do an outreach part of to the community and all different sectors of the community. You develop some action statements and some partnerships, and then you complete those actions, or get as close as you can to those actions within about a 3-year period of time. So we're about to start a new visioning cycle, and we will be conducting some outreach and some development of questions and concerns that the community has that they may like to see the city work on and develop partnerships with the community about. So that we're very early stages right now, but we will be looking for venues to approach different persons in the community. I'm sure that the NACs will be one of those. It'll be interesting, especially this time around.
Thank you, Konnettee, and feel free to have Annie do social media announcements to solicit input and participation.
Thank you.
Reggie, do you have anything?
So I sent out the THPRD minutes from the Southwest Quadrant Community Park Naming Committee meeting, which happened back in 2017. This was like the most recent precedent of what various indigenous names could be for THPRD properties put forth by committee member Greg Harrelson, who's the Cultural Resources Manager with the Confederated Tribes of Grand Ronde, our contact for the Fir Grove East Woods renaming or permanent naming. So if everyone can have another month to review that, I'd like to put that on the agenda for October, and we can have a discussion involving board members and regular members, and then hopefully have a narrow down some of the options. I really want to hear people's thoughts on what has already been proposed, which is like reducing steps that we would need to take. These are already viable names, and I think there are a lot of really good ones. So I'll post that or paste that in our next meeting's Zoom chat, all the names. So yeah, that's all I have. I've given updates on everything else that I can think of.
Reggie, do you think you could have this input from the community done by social media on Nextdoor and Facebook to guide our discussion for folks that don't attend?
Yeah.
I mean, you could maybe distill this down to a poll, or it's a lot of text that you had for social media, but someone asks, what is the name of the park you would like renamed?
So it's the property that THPRD acquired behind the former Nazarene Church on 22nd and Hall in 2013. And the Park District has just given the placeholder name of Fir Grove East. It's not even, there's no signage or anything. It's really considered more of a undeveloped property. It's a natural area, but other than habitat restoration work by contractors and volunteers, there hasn't been a lot of activity. So we're looking at doing this as a way to increase community involvement in the park.
All right. Anything else, Reggie?
Nope.
And Ryan, do you have anything?
No, I do not.
Any of our visitors, you may raise your hand or you may attempt to unmute if you would like to speak. *6 is the unmute for our guests. Okay. Seeing none, it looks like our meeting is about to end early for once. And Annie didn't make it, so I guess we'll move this other item that was listed to the following month. Thank you, everybody, and we are adjourned.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, Adam.
All right, bye-bye.